At the heart of transition planning are the services or coordinated set of activities we provide to students. Can you provide a historical perspective and overview of this requirement?
Transition services involves several different components, one of which is what is referred to as a coordinated set of activities. And this particular requirement has been around since 1990. And in 1990, this was referred to as the Statement of Needed Transition Services for every kid 16 and older. And it was also in IDEA of 97 identified as the Statement of Needed Transition Services. And then under IDEA 2004, they got rid of the word Statement of Needed Transition Services, Statement of Transition Service Needs, and they combined it all under one title. And it's called Transition Services, under which one of the components is this coordinated set of activities. The areas under the coordinated set of activities, which has always been in law since 1990, are the areas of instruction, related services, community experiences, development of employment and other post-school adult living objectives, and, if appropriate, daily living skills and a functional vocational evaluation. Those are the areas under the coordinated set of activities, the transition services coordinated set of activities. So as we look at, well, what is this coordinated set of activities and how do I write that and what's the purpose behind it? That coordinated set of activities to me is nothing more than a big picture plan for adult life. And as we begin to sit down with this young person and talk about where they're going to go and what they want to do, the question is, well, what does this plan look like? What do we need to do? When do we need to do it? Who needs to be involved in this? And so to me, it's a multi-year kind of plan, big picture multi-year plan. And one of the issues around developing a comprehensive multi-year plan that involves all these different players, kids, families, schools, other agencies, is that many special education teachers have not been trained on how to develop a long-range, coordinated, multi-year kind of plan. So part of this is understanding what is a coordinated set of activities, what does this plan look like, and then being aware of the fact that each of those 7 areas that we mentioned must be considered in the development of this coordinated set of activities. As I think about it in terms of activities, I really think about steps. I really think about strategies here. And what I do and what I encourage teachers to do is that when you sit down to do this particular component, you kind of put paper aside for a second, you put the form aside for a second, and you say, okay, based upon where the kid wants to go and what they want to do, based upon where they're currently functioning, what's it going to take to help that student achieve that? What's it going to take in terms of activities or steps or strategies? So let's begin to map out what it is that needs to happen. Let's begin to identify what school year we're going to address that in, and then let's begin to identify for each of those steps or activities who has primary responsibility. Now, in the handout that I gave you and the others today, it identifies and it gives you an example of activities that might fall under the areas of instruction, community experiences, employment, all of those. And I gave you a couple IEP examples, one with a student with a moderate disability, one with a student with a mild disability. When you begin to look at those activities that are spelled out, and here I can probably pull one out here and we can actually talk about an example, is a young man that wants to go on and work part-time in a grocery store. That's measurable. Post-secondary goal under employment, education, and training is that the student will receive on-the-job training while working at this particular grocery store, independent living, that the student will live in a group home with other friends and roommates. Now, as we begin to think about, well, what's it going to take for that young person to achieve that, let's put that together and let's develop it in terms of a coordinated set of steps, activities. And under the area of instruction, for instance, we list a number of different kinds of activities or steps, things that need to happen, like complete a learning styles inventory to identify preferences and strengths, encourage participation in extracurricular activities, walk through registration form, provide information about clubs available within the school and in the community, enroll in self-advocacy class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as we look at the activities that are spelled out and we look at who is responsible, we see that some of the parties that are responsible for these activities is the student themselves, which is kind of interesting because if we start giving kids some responsibility, they might actually grow up and be responsible. Some of the responsibility for some of these activities fall on the parents, because the reality is that the parents do have responsibility or some responsibility for their child's future. And then as appropriate, some of these activities fall under like vocational rehabilitation or human services or whatever agency or agencies need to be involved with this student in order for that student to achieve what it is that they want to do. Could be vocational rehabilitation, mental health, developmental disabilities, post-secondary institutions, the support services. It all depends on where the kid wants to go and what they want to do and the services that are necessary in order to help them to achieve that as they leave the public school system. So that when you look at this piece, this coordinated set of activities piece of the IEP for transition, and you look at all the activities, you look at all the steps, you look at all the players that are involved in this, what you begin to see is a coordinated set of activities. Now, the reality is that if the student is going to achieve what it is that they want to do, the reality is that the schools cannot do it by themselves. They have to involve others, students, families, other agencies. So as we look at this particular requirement, the intent behind it is to have a comprehensive long-range plan that will support and help lead that student to achieve their measurable post-secondary goals.